I'm 4 years sober for a reason. I just now got out of rehab. I just now got out of ER. I'm not doing no more time away from my kids other than I need to.
These black actors were once on top of the world, starring in hit shows, winning awards, even becoming global icons. But today, Hollywood doesn't want to cast them anymore. From shocking scandals to bold stands that shook the entire industry, their careers took a turn no one saw coming. Here are 20 black actors Hollywood won't cast anymore. 1. Orlando Brown.
Disney Channel star is busted again right here in Las Vegas. Police tell us that Orlando Brown was arrested Monday for narcotics possession.
Orlando Brown used to be one of the funniest and most talented guys on Disney Channel. Everyone remembers him as Eddie Thomas from That's So Raven. He played Raven's best friend, and people really loved his energy and comic timing. But once the show ended in 2007, things started going downhill for him. He got into serious trouble with the law. We're talking about multiple arrests, like for possession, DUI, domestic violence, and even burglary. These weren't just rumors. He was actually arrested several times over the years. A big part of the problem was his addiction to and alcohol, especially hard stuff like He's even talked about struggling with addiction in interviews. All this drama made it really hard for him to keep his acting career going. Hollywood usually avoids actors with legal issues or who come off as unreliable, and sadly, that's the category Orlando ended up in. He did try to make a comeback a few times and has been in some small movies and guest roles, but nothing close to his Disney Channel days. What makes it even sadder is that Orlando actually had a lot of talent. He could sing, rap, act, and make people laugh. But the addiction and legal problems overshadowed everything else. In some recent interviews, he said he's trying to get clean and turn his life around, which is good. But Hollywood still doesn't fully trust him yet. 2. Stacey Dash.
I used my platform to exercise my First Amendment right as an American citizen to say who I am choosing to vote for.
Stacey Dash is most famous for playing Diane in Clueless, that classic teen movie from the 90s. She was stylish, confident, and honestly a standout in that whole film. After Clueless, she had a few roles here and there, but her career never fully took off like some of her co-stars. Then things got really controversial. Around 2014, Stacey Dash became a political commentator for Fox News. She wasn't just a guest, she was a full-on contributor. She shared a lot of strong opinions, especially about race and politics. A lot of people didn't like what she had to say. She made comments that upset both black and liberal communities, and some people felt like she turned her back on them. She said stuff like Black History Month shouldn't exist, and criticized people like President Obama and Beyoncé. It got so intense that even Fox News suspended her at one point for saying Obama didn't care about terrorism. Her contract wasn't renewed after that, and she kind of faded from both TV and movies. Later, she admitted she regretted some of those things. She said she was playing into a role, basically being an angry conservative black woman. Now she's trying to change her image, but the damage to her Hollywood career was already done. Because of all that controversy, most directors and studios don't want to work with her anymore. She hasn't had any big roles in years, and Hollywood has basically moved on. 3. Jussie Smollett.
According to Smollett, he was walking the streets of Chicago a few weeks ago at 2 a.m. trying to get a Subway sandwich when he was beaten up by 2 white guys.
Jussie Smollett used to be one of the main stars on the hit TV show Empire. He played Jamal Lyon and was super popular for both his acting and singing. But in 2019, everything changed. Jussie said he was attacked in a hate crime that involved racial and homophobic slurs. At first, people were shocked and showed him a lot of support. But then the truth came out. After investigating, Chicago police said Jussie had actually staged the attack himself. They believed he paid 2 guys he knew to fake the whole thing. That totally flipped the story and made it one of the biggest scandals in Hollywood at the time. Jussie was charged with filing a false police report, and although those charges were dropped at first, a special prosecutor later brought them back. In 2021, he was found guilty on 5 felony counts. He was sentenced to 150 days in jail, probation, and had to pay fines. But in 2024, the Illinois Supreme Court overturned the conviction. They said it was unfair to charge him again after the first deal had already been made. Still, the court didn't say he was innocent, just that the legal process was messed up. Even with the conviction overturned, Jussie's Hollywood career has taken a major hit. After the scandal, Empire removed his character, and he hasn't been offered any big roles since. He's tried to bounce back by directing and doing smaller projects, but most studios have stayed away. 4. Mo'Nique.
I would like to thank the Academy for showing that it can be about the performance and not the politics.
Mo'Nique is a super talented actress and comedian who even won an Oscar for her powerful role in Precious back in 2009. But even after that huge win, her Hollywood career didn't take off the way people expected. Why? Because she spoke up, and that made some big names mad. After Precious, she refused to promote the film at certain events overseas, like Cannes, because she wasn't being paid to do it. She felt it wasn't right to work for free, especially since it wasn't in her contract. That decision didn't sit well with some powerful people in Hollywood. Mo'Nique later said she was blackballed by the industry. She specifically called out Lee Daniels, Oprah Winfrey, and Tyler Perry, saying they turned their backs on her. She also started speaking out about how black women in entertainment are often underpaid and overlooked. In 2019, she filed a lawsuit against Netflix, claiming they lowballed her for a comedy special offer. She said it was unfair and based on race and gender. The lawsuit made headlines, and even though many people supported her, it added more tension between her and the industry. Eventually, she and Netflix settled the case privately. The good news? Mo'Nique and Lee Daniels finally made peace after 13 years. They're working together again, which could mean her career might turn around. But for a long time, Hollywood didn't want to cast her, not because she wasn't good, but because she challenged the system. 5. Terrence Howard.
You are literally, it's an unhealthy space. And so eventually you're going to go too far, you know? Who knows what happened to Philip?
Terrence Howard used to be one of the biggest names in Hollywood. Most people remember him for his amazing performance in Hustle and Flow, which even got him an Oscar nomination. He was also in big movies like Crash and Iron Man. Yep, he was the original James Rhodes before Don Cheadle took over the role in the sequels. So what happened? A lot of it comes down to personal drama and legal issues. Over the years, Terrence has been involved in multiple controversies. He's had public disputes with his ex-wives, and some of those involved allegations of domestic violence. In fact, Terrence has admitted to some of those actions in past interviews, which didn't sit well with Hollywood. Then there was the whole Iron Man situation. Terrence says he was supposed to be paid more for the sequel, but the studio cut his salary by a lot. He refused, and the role went to someone else. After that, people started calling him difficult to work with, and it didn't stop there. In recent years, he sued Fox, the network behind Empire, and his talent agency, saying they underpaid him during the show's run. He also got into trouble over taxes. He's been accused of not paying what he owed the government. Terrence has said all of these legal fights hurt his chances of getting new roles. He's even said he's now working on the Chitlin circuit, which is basically smaller, local theater shows that don't get big media attention. 6. Cuba Gooding Jr.
To Oscar-winning actor Cuba Gooding Jr. facing new charges of misconduct and now surveillance surfacing. Here's ABC's Gio Benitez.
Cuba Gooding Jr. was once on top of the world after his unforgettable role in Jerry Maguire, where he shouted, "Show me the money." He won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. Everyone thought he'd be the next big Hollywood star. But instead of rising higher, his career slowly started to fall. He took on some roles in movies that didn't do well, and he even admitted that he turned down big opportunities from famous directors after his Oscar win. That hurt his momentum. Then things got worse. In 2019, more than 20 women came forward accusing Cuba of misconduct. The stories made headlines, and people started to see him in a very different light. He was arrested and charged in New York and eventually pleaded guilty to a lesser charge. He followed the court's orders, and the charge was downgraded to a violation. Not a crime, but it still damaged his image. He also faced a civil lawsuit where a woman accused him of and they eventually reached a settlement. Even though he avoided serious jail time, the damage to his reputation was done. Hollywood didn't want to be associated with that kind of controversy. In 2024, Cuba began appearing in a few small projects again. He's talked about wanting a second chance and trying to rebuild his career. But it's clear he's still dealing with the fallout from everything that happened. If you thought that was wild, wait till you see what happened to this CSI fan favorite who lost it all. 7. Gary Dourdan.
If the hook hadn't dislodged from that Sorensen man, you would have spent the rest of your life admiring a fake.
Gary Dourdan was once one of the coolest guys on TV. He played Warwick Brown on CSI, Crime Scene Investigation, and fans loved him. He had charm, talent, and a strong screen presence. He was part of the show for 8 seasons and even won NAACP Image Awards for his role. It seemed like his career was going nowhere but up. But after CSI, Gary's personal life started making headlines more than his acting. In 2008, he was arrested for having and charge was dropped, but the damage to his image had already begun. In 2011, he got arrested again for possession, and that same year he was charged with felony battery after a fight with his girlfriend. It was reported that he broke her nose and later got 5 years probation. Along with his legal troubles, Gary also faced financial problems. In 2012, he filed for bankruptcy, saying he couldn't keep up with his debts. Even though his exit from CSI wasn't directly because of his problems, his contract had simply ended. His issues afterward definitely made it harder for him to get big roles again. Since then, Gary's mostly worked in smaller independent films and a few TV roles here and there. He's also spoken out about overcoming his addiction and working to rebuild his life. 8. Isaiah Washington.
During this Golden Globes press conference, Washington, standing with the show's cast, used a homophobic slur in an effort to set the record straight.
Isaiah Washington was doing great as Dr. Preston Burke on Grey's Anatomy, one of the biggest TV shows at the time. He was a major character and had a strong fan following. But in 2007, his Hollywood run hit a wall after a major scandal. It all started with an argument on set between Isaiah and fellow actor Patrick Dempsey. During that fight, Isaiah used a homophobic slur that many believed was directed at another co-star, T.R. Knight, who later came out as gay. Even worse, Isaiah repeated that same slur backstage at the Golden Globes while trying to deny he ever said it. That only made things messier. Isaiah later apologized, but the damage was done. ABC, the network behind Grey's Anatomy, decided not to renew his contract, and just like that, he was off the show. It was a huge fall for someone who was at the top of his game. After that, Isaiah said he lost almost everything. He couldn't afford an agent or publicist and struggled to find work in big movies or TV shows. Hollywood pretty much turned its back on him. Even though he still had the talent, studios didn't want the controversy that came with his name. He did get a small comeback in 2014 when Grey's Anatomy brought him back for a 1-episode guest appearance to help wrap up another character's story. He also got a lead role on The 100, a sci-fi show on the CW, where he worked from 2014 to 2018. It was a good role, but it wasn't nearly as big as his days on Grey's Anatomy. 9. Wesley Snipes.
Keep it simple like that, you know. I keep the relationship between me and the spirit world very harmonious.
Spirit world.
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes was one of the coolest action stars of the 90s. He's best known for playing Blade, a vampire hunter in the Marvel movie trilogy. Way before superhero movies were everywhere, Wesley made Blade a hit and helped prove that comic book films could be taken seriously. People loved his style, his fight scenes, and the fact that he made a black superhero iconic. But after his rise to fame, Wesley's life got really complicated. He got into serious legal trouble for not paying his taxes. He didn't file his federal income taxes for several years, and that caught up with him. In 2008, he was found guilty and sentenced to 3 years in prison. He ended up serving about 28 months before getting released in 2013. His time in prison changed everything. Hollywood started backing away from him. On top of the tax problems, there were also reports that he was hard to work with, especially during the filming of Blade, Trinity. Some people said he clashed with the director and other actors, which added to the bad reputation. After he got out, he slowly started getting work again. He had a part in The Expendables 3 and showed up in Coming to America, but those roles weren't anywhere near the leading roles he used to get. He went from starring in major movies to taking smaller parts or supporting roles. From prison time to clashing on set, this next star's fall from fame hit even harder. 10. Larenz Tate.
Hey, won't you give my homeboy his change? I don't want any trouble. Just get out.
Larenz Tate is one of those actors who's always been good, but never got the level of fame he really deserved. Most people know him from the classic movie Love Jones, where he played a smooth, poetic guy falling in love. He also starred in Menace to Second Society and Dead Presidents. Back in the 90s, he was on fire, but after that strong start, things slowed down. It's not that he stopped acting, he's always worked steadily, but he stopped getting lead roles in big movies. A lot of that comes down to typecasting. Hollywood tends to put black actors in the same kind of roles over and over, and Larenz didn't want to play the same character again and again. Instead, he chose to work on projects that told real stories about black life. He said in interviews that he wants to be part of movies and shows that actually mean something and push for better representation. That choice may have limited some mainstream roles, but it shows he really cares about his work. He found success on TV too. He had a big role on the hit show Power, where he played a politician. Fans loved seeing him back on screen, and it reminded people of how talented he is. Still, he's not always the leading man in big Hollywood films like some of his co-stars from the past. 11. Keke Palmer.
They say lunch is the second most important meal of the day. Today's special is ham and Swiss on homemade potato bread. I hope you like smiling.
Well, I do like smiling.
Keke Palmer has been in the spotlight since she was a kid, and she's done it all: acting, singing, hosting, voice work, you name it. She got her big break in Akeelah and the Bee, where she totally stole the show. Since then, she's built a long list of achievements, including becoming the youngest talk show host in TV history and starring in major projects like Nope, Hustlers, and even animated movies like Lightyear and Ice Age. But even with all that success, Keke has been real about how Hollywood treats her. In 2022, when people on social media started comparing her to Zendaya, she clapped back in the best way. She said she's an incomparable talent and pointed out that she's made history in more ways than one, like being the first black woman to have her own show on Nickelodeon and being the first black Cinderella on Broadway. She also talked about how colorism plays a role in the way some stars are treated differently. Keke's not afraid to speak her mind. She's called out the system for overlooking black talent and putting people in boxes. She's talked about how hard it was being a black child star, facing stereotypes and being typecast in the same kinds of roles. Still, even though Hollywood hasn't always given her the credit she deserves, Keke has stayed busy and built her own path. She's hosted Password, launched her own online platform called Key TV Network, and even won multiple Emmy Awards. That's not just surviving in the industry, that's thriving. 12. Tisha Campbell.
It makes me so proud. I've been in the business for 43 years, since I was 3 years old.
Tisha Campbell is a TV legend. Most people know her as Gina from Martin, or as the fun mom in My Wife and Kids. She had a major run in the 90s and early 2000s where she was everywhere. But after those shows ended, she kind of faded from the big spotlight. That doesn't mean she stopped working, though. Tisha has kept acting in all kinds of shows, like Everybody Hates Chris, Empire, Dr. Ken, and Outmatched. She's also been in newer projects like Uncoupled and Act Your Age, where she's still showing off her comedy and acting skills. It's just that these roles haven't gotten as much attention as the big ones she had back in the day. Some people think ageism might be part of it. Hollywood doesn't always give older women, especially black women, the same chances they give to younger stars. The industry also changes its focus a lot, and sometimes the stars that were once on top don't get the same kind of offers anymore. But Tisha has never really disappeared. She's stayed in the game, and she's been doing it for over 5 decades. That's a long time to stay relevant in a tough business. She's also been open about her personal struggles and growth, and she continues to inspire people with her honesty and strength. She ruled the 90s sitcom world, but what happened when the spotlight faded? 13. Darius McCrary.
Must have been a real doozy.
Yeah, the frat house really rocked. Music, babes, good food.
Darius McCrary will always be remembered as Eddie Winslow from Family Matters. He was the cool, funny older brother that so many people grew up watching in the 90s. But after the show ended, things didn't really take off the way fans thought they would. Yes, Darius kept acting, but he didn't land any big mainstream roles. Most of his work has been in smaller films, direct-to-video movies, or guest spots on TV. He's also done some voice work. He actually voiced Jazz in the 2007 Transformers movie, which was cool, but that didn't lead to a big comeback. One of the problems he faced was typecasting. People still saw him as Eddie Winslow, and it was hard for him to shake that image. Hollywood didn't really offer him roles that helped him grow beyond that character. On top of that, Darius has had some personal issues that made headlines. He's been arrested more than once for unpaid child support, and those stories sometimes overshadowed his work. When people hear more about your legal problems than your acting, it becomes harder to stay in the spotlight. That said, he hasn't stopped trying. He's been in shows like American Soul on BET and Monogamy on the UMC streaming platform. He's also started working on creating his own TV and movie projects through his production company, which shows he's not giving up. 14. Brandy Norwood.
As teenagers, we were both very competitive, and we didn't remember what it was like to be together.
Brandy isn't just a singer, she's a whole cultural icon. From her R&B hits to starring in the classic TV show Moesha, Brandy was everywhere in the late 90s and early 2000s. People thought she kind of disappeared for a while, but the truth is, she never really left. In the past few years, Brandy has been making a serious comeback. She starred in the ABC series Queens from 2021 to 2022, showing off her acting and singing skills all over again. She also popped up in Netflix's Christmas movie, Best Christmas Ever, in 2023, and took on a creepy role in the 2024 horror movie, The Front Room. And guess what? She even came back as Cinderella. Brandy returned to play the iconic role in Descendants, The Rise of Red on Disney Plus in 2024, and she's set to appear in another Descendants film in 2025. So, yeah, Brandy is definitely still booked and busy. On top of acting, she's also been working on music. She dropped a holiday album in 2023 and has a memoir coming out in 2025. Plus, she's teaming up with Monica for a tour later that year. Talk about staying relevant. 15. Tyrese Gibson.
Oh my God, my Shayla, my Shayla.
Tyrese Gibson is still a major part of the Fast and Furious franchise, and fans know him as Roman, the loud, funny guy always getting into something wild. But outside of the movies, Tyrese has gotten a lot of attention for the wrong reasons. He's had several public feuds, especially the one with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Tyrese was super upset when The Rock got a Fast and Furious spin-off and said it messed up the schedule for the main movies. At one point, Tyrese even said he might leave the franchise altogether because of it. He's also gone viral for emotional posts on social media. In one video, he cried over a custody battle for his daughter and shouted, "What more do you want from me?" It became a meme, but it also made people worry about his mental health. On top of that, he's had legal problems, especially with child support issues, which the media covered heavily. All this drama has made some studios hesitant to work with him, even though he still has fans and talent. Still, Tyrese is staying in the game. He was in Fast X in 2023 and is set to return in Fast and Furious 11. He's also been doing music and trying to focus on more serious acting roles. 16. Taye Diggs.
Who are they? I would invite you, but they voted me out. So.
Taye Diggs was the guy in almost every romantic movie in the late 90s and early 2000s. He starred in hits like How Stella Got Her Groove Back and Brown Sugar. He had the looks, the charm, and serious acting skills. For a while, it felt like he was everywhere. But in recent years, you don't see him leading big Hollywood movies as much. That doesn't mean he disappeared. He's actually been super active, just in different places. He had big roles on TV shows like Private Practice, Empire, and All American, which had strong fan bases. He's also been killing it on stage and even went back to Broadway, where he's currently performing in Moulin Rouge, the musical, in 2025. So why isn't he leading rom-coms anymore? Well, part of it could be the way Hollywood has changed. There are fewer romantic comedies in theaters, and roles for black male leads in that genre have been pretty limited. Some people say ageism and changing trends might play a part too. Taye's still got the talent, but the kind of roles he used to get just aren't being made as much anymore. That said, Taye hasn't been waiting around. He's expanded his career into other areas. He's hosting a podcast, doing theater, and staying involved in new movie projects like The Comeback and Another Man's Wife, which is coming soon. Rom-com king one day, background role the next. This next star's career shift is tough to watch. 17. Marcus T. Paulk.
I'm sorry I lied to you, Martin. I just didn't want to go to Arizona.
I'm sorry I lied to you, Martin. I just didn't want to go to Arizona.
Marcus T. Paulk is best known as Miles, the funny little brother from the hit TV show Moshe. He was one of those child actors everyone loved back in the day. But after the show ended, his career didn't really blow up the way people expected. Marcus did keep acting, but most of his roles were in smaller movies and guest spots. He was in films like Roll Bounce and Red Tails, and even popped up in The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. But he never really made the jump to leading man in big Hollywood projects. One of the biggest challenges for Marcus was transitioning from a kid star to an adult actor. It's something a lot of child actors struggle with. Once people see you as a certain type of character, it's hard to break out of that image. Hollywood didn't give him many chances to reinvent himself in bigger roles. But that doesn't mean Marcus isn't doing anything. He's been focusing more on his music career and is running a modeling agency too. So even though he's not on every TV screen or movie poster, he's building his own path and staying creative. It's clear he still has passion for the entertainment industry, even if he's doing things behind the scenes now. He's one of those actors who may not be in the spotlight 24/7, but he's still working and trying to grow in new directions. 18. Anthony Anderson.
The ABC show Blackish is under investigation for assault. A woman claims Anthony Anderson attacked her more than a year ago.
Anthony Anderson has been one of the funniest and most recognizable faces in comedy for years. Most people know him from Blackish, where he played Dre, a loving and very dramatic dad. He's also hosted award shows, game shows, and has done tons of movies and stand-up. So yeah, he's had a huge career. But not everything has been smooth. In 2018, Anthony was investigated by the LAPD after being accused of assault. The case didn't go anywhere, no charges were filed, because they said there wasn't enough evidence. Still, just having that kind of accusation made headlines and affected how some people saw him. Despite that, Anthony didn't completely disappear from the spotlight. He kept working and actually hosted the 75th Primetime Emmy Awards in 2024, which was a pretty big deal. He's also been hosting a fun game show called We Are Family with his mom. So while he's still out there doing big projects, it's clear the controversy made some parts of Hollywood more cautious about casting him in major lead roles. He hasn't said he's stepping back from acting, but you can tell his projects have shifted. Instead of starring in huge sitcoms like Blackish, he's doing more hosting, guest appearances, and behind-the-scenes stuff. Anthony Anderson is still funny, talented, and well-known, but the way people view him has definitely changed in recent years. 19. Jaleel White.
Hi, Laura. I hear you can't get a date for the dance. So you want to go with me?
Jaleel White will forever be remembered as Steve Urkel from Family Matters. He was the awkward, funny, nerdy neighbor who wore suspenders and said, "Did I do that?" That character became so popular, it totally took over the show, and Jaleel's entire career. After Family Matters ended, Jaleel kept acting, but it was hard for people to see him as anyone other than Urkel. That's called typecasting, and it's tough to deal with in Hollywood. He even said in interviews that playing Urkel gave him some physical issues, like pain from always changing his voice and posture. Still, Jaleel didn't quit. He's done voice work. He was the original Sonic the Hedgehog and acted in shows like Grown Ups, Me, Myself and I, The After Party, and even the new Star Wars, Skeleton Crew. He's also been in movies like Dreamgirls and Hustle. Recently, Jaleel found success again as a game show host on Flipside. It's great to see him doing something new and still having fun in front of the camera. But let's be honest, most people still think of him as Urkel first, no matter what else he does. Jaleel White never stopped working. It's just that escaping such a famous role is harder than it looks. 20. Cheryl Lee Ralph.
You are not a JoJo Seabass.
You mean JoJo Siwa?
Cheryl Lee Ralph is proof that talent never goes out of style. She started her career way back in the 80s and was the original Dina Jones in the Broadway musical Dreamgirls. She's acted in tons of movies and TV shows, but for a long time, she didn't get the recognition she truly deserved. Cheryl has been open about how Hollywood overlooked her for years. She said there were times she felt invisible in the industry, even though she kept working and delivering great performances. It's sad, but it's something a lot of black actresses face, especially as they get older. Then came Abbott Elementary. In that show, she plays Barbara Howard, a wise, no-nonsense teacher. The show became a huge hit, and suddenly everyone remembered just how amazing Cheryl is. She even won an Emmy Award in 2022, finally getting the credit she's earned for decades. Since then, things have changed for her in the best way. She got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and she was honored with the Order of Jamaica for her impact on entertainment. People are finally giving her flowers while she's still shining. Cheryl Lee Ralph didn't just make a comeback, she made a statement. Real talent will always rise. So, who do you think deserves a major comeback? Drop their name in the comments below. We might feature your pick in the next video. And hit that like button. Subscribe for more deep dives.